For the Practice 360 topic today, we're going to discuss the difference between even count breathing and coherent breathing. From an outside perspective, these look identical. They are breathing in and out and making the breath the same count on the inhale and exhale, essentially making your breath even. But there is a big difference between breathing for health purposes and breathing for yogic purposes. So we consider this coherent breathing as breathing for health purposes and even count breathing as breathing for yogic purposes. And this gets us into pranayama breathing, where we're manipulating the breath, not necessarily for physical benefit, but for mental benefit. So breathing for health purposes. The simplest and most effective breathing exercise for health is coherent breathing. Again, this is basically just making the inhale and the exhale even. Okay? You would do this maybe at 4 counts in, 4 counts out, 5 counts in, 5 counts out, or at the most 6 counts in and 6 counts out, but no slower than 6 counts in and out. What this does is it improves your heart rate variability. So basically, it teaches your parasympathetic nervous system to activate. What this results in is the body feeling calmer and the mind feeling calmer. Most of us go throughout our day taking very jagged breaths, maybe a little bit in, a little bit out. It's not steady, it's not even, and it's not particularly slow or measured. And so when we start breathing evenly, this helps our rest and digest nervous system learn how to kick in and learn how to relax us. Over time, practicing coherent breathing will teach our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in faster. So while we may feel very stressed right now, if we practice this breathing exercise, over time we'll be able to take just 1 or 2 breaths, and our parasympathetic nervous system, our resting nervous system, will become alert. It will realize our body can calm down. When you're practicing coherent breathing, it's not important that you take big, expansive breaths. It's just important that they're relaxed and even. So very simply, if you were doing 4 counts in and out, it would just be this. I'm not taking expansive breaths. I'm not worrying about my chest or my belly. I'm just slowing my breath and making it steady. You may have noticed that we almost always use a metronome for pranayama, and we recommend this to you. So if you'd like to use a metronome, you can download one on your phone, or you might have one laying around, and you set the metronome to 60 beats per minute, which is just 1 beat per second, and then breathe with that count. Breathing for yogic purposes can be very different than breathing for health purposes. So we call this in yoga pranayama, right? It is essentially working with your breath, or quite literally working with your prana or your life force energy. Even count breathing is a very effective pranayama exercise. It is the same as coherent breathing on the surface. It is making your inhale and your exhale the same count. But over time, when you're doing even count breathing, you are lengthening your inhales and lengthening your exhales quite tremendously. So while you might start with 4 or 5 or 6 counts, like with coherent breathing, over time you're lengthening your breath to 10 or 12, or even up towards 20. But don't rush into that. It takes a very long time, and it is very slow progress. What this type of practice does is it gradually gives you control over the subconscious breathing parts of the brain. So breathing is both a brainstem function and a higher functioning brain function. When you start to control your breath, you are using that higher functioning brain, but you still have the reptilian brain or the brainstem function breathing that happens in your body. This is why you can take a breath, hold the breath, but it's also why throughout your day you don't have to think about breathing, it just happens. When we start to control the breath, over time, the higher functioning breathing mechanism will push up against the brainstem breathing mechanism. So as the breath slows down, at a certain point you're going to start having this dialogue between these two parts in your brain, saying, take a breath, no, hold your breath, take a breath, no, hold your breath. This has to be approached incredibly gradually, with no force whatsoever, because these are very deep functions in our body, in our brain. And so we need to just gradually pay attention to what happens when we push up against our breathing. So if you want to practice these breathing exercises, the level 1 pranayama practice that we put up has coherent breathing. Okay, the level 2 has even count at 8 counts in and out, which is starting to really get into slowing the breath down. So remember, the one rule of pranayama or breathing practice of any kind is you must be relaxed. So if at any point you feel tension in your body or in your system, deep within yourself, you must relax and just breathe normally. If you are able to stay relaxed, then you can practice the level 2 pranayama, start to lengthen your breath, and pay attention to what happens deep inside your nervous system.